Hello and welcome to the next episode of Tiny Time Big Results. This is season 2, episode 2. And in this episode, we're going to be really digging deep into messaging. And if you ever thought that messaging was just like a little cute tagline or something that you just said and then magically, you got all the clients, then today's episode is going to really shift everything for you because I see people thinking, oh, I just need to get my message, or I just need to get my message, and then wonder why they're not getting the clients, they're not getting the opportunities, because messaging is so much more than that. And that's what I want to dig in today with you. Okay. So my title for this is Messaging is a Revenue System, Not a Tagline, because honestly, I want you to really embrace the idea that messaging is the thing that makes you money, because it is, right? It's not just a cute thing that you have on your website. It's not just a bunch of words. It's the stuff that brings the money in. So let's get really good at it, right? It really is everything in your business. And messaging, like, let's face it, if you're talking in your business, if you're writing in your business, whatever you're doing, you're always messaging, whether it's social media, whether it's emails, whether it's networking, whether it's speaking, it's all messaging, right? So we really want to dial this in so that you're getting the clients, you're getting the cash, you're getting the opportunities, you're growing your business, and you're getting to do the work that you absolutely love because you've nailed your messaging, okay? And I want you to think about it from this perspective. Like, messaging drives demand in your business. It shapes your offers. It filters clients in or out. It really does so much, but I just feel like, I think from all the work that I've done over the last 13 years in online business is, I think people just think it is that one liner, that, 60-second pitch, and then that's it. It really isn't. Okay. Your message really does the heavy lifting. Okay, if you do it right, right? And it makes your life so much easier. And there are three things that I want to share with you in this episode that's going to shift everything for you in your business. Okay. Because when I talk about the heavy lifting, what I mean is it gets you leads, it filters people in or out, it gets you the clients, it gets you noticed, it gets you the opportunities that perhaps were not open to you or available to you because somebody sees your messaging. Maybe they hear you talking to somebody and they go, ooh, I want to know more about that, right? It's doing all of those things. And when you think about it from the perspective of your ideal client, it's educating them, it's nurturing them, and what we really want is it converts them into a paying client, a buying customer. Okay. So, three things that I want you to be very aware of. The first thing, your tagline creates awareness, right? So people suddenly are aware of what it is that you do, which is brilliant, which is exactly what you want, right? But the messaging creates buyers, right? So when you think about how you attract people into your world, when you think about your social media, your blogging, whatever it might be that you're putting out there to get people into your world, that messaging is going to create buyers, because do you know what that means? It means that they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel safe with you, right? So your tagline will absolutely pique their curiosity and they'll go, oh, I'd love to know more. And that's always a good sign of a really good message, and a good one-liner is where people are leaning in and saying, tell me a little bit more about that, right? You don't want the kiss of death where somebody says, oh, that's nice, and they're really not sure what it is that you do. And trust me, I've had a lot of conversations with people where they will say what they do, and I'll be like, oh, I'm not 100% sure what that means, right? Because we fall into some of the typical pitfalls, too much jargon, what you're talking about, but the person that you're talking to probably doesn't have that same level of knowledge, so that curiosity is piqued, right? So they kind of go, oh, I want to know more, right? But then when they start having a conversation with you, when you think about it from the perspective of maybe someone finds you on social media, discovers you, and then they want to go and read the other posts that you've done, and they want to, maybe check out the videos that you created, maybe read your book if you've got a book, right? now that messaging is doing so much heavy lifting. And this is what I love about messaging and doing it right? Because obviously I'm all about tiny time, big results. I'm all about building that profitable 20-hour week business. But what happens is all the messaging that you've ever created builds leverage, right? And leverage is your best friend. If you want to have a business that works beautifully in like 3-4 hours a day, you need leverage. And your message is a powerful leverage tool, right? So they're learning more about you and they're like, oh, I love her style, or I like his way with words. Some people are very poetic, some people are very plain speaking. But when your ideal client is connecting to you through your messaging, they're going to feel that resonance, they're going to feel that like connection, right? So that's hugely important. Like that tagline is going to get them being aware of you, but the messaging is what's going to make them actually become a buyer, right? And you can't skip that stage. You really can't skip that stage, right? The second thing I want you to know is your message, your messaging should be working harder than you are, right? I've said it. And listen, this is not about being lazy, although why I have to qualify that, I'm not sure, right? This is not about being lazy or not wanting to work, right? Because I know you. You're a hard worker, you're ambitious, you're driven, you're determined. You're like, I love what I do, so I want to do more of it. So it's not about that. But imagine if you're a Netflix series and someone says, oh, have you checked out? We'll use my example, Tiny Time Big Results. And they go, oh, I haven't heard of that. Let me go and check it out, right? You come to my website, yasminvarji.com. You read my blog. There's over 100 episodes of my podcast. I have a book, a best-selling book, right? You could effectively binge consume Tiny Time Big Results for at least 10 hours, right? And at the end of that 10 hours, you are going to get such an incredible experience and resonance of my work, right? Because this is the body of work that I've been building over 13 years at this stage, right? But what that means is all of that messaging is doing the heavy lifting for me. Right now, where I'm sat, a lot of that stuff, I mean, I wrote my book 7 years ago and it's still doing the heavy lifting. And that's the way it absolutely should be, right? Your messaging should be qualifying, it should be filtering, it should be pre-selling. That's what you want. And ultimately, and I think this is a really important part of my philosophy, your messaging should be building that trust with your ideal client, where they're like, I trust this one. Like he's got really the like the substance there. And that's what you want. You want people to feel that level of safety with you. And it's trust, like at the heart of every business, it's all about trust. And when you don't have that trust, and because let's face it, there are a lot of, untrustworthy people out there. But when you feel like I'm in safe hands, then it's so much more likely that someone is going to come and buy from you. Okay. And what I want you to know, okay, this is the third thing that I want you to know. If your message is not making you money, it's not doing its job, right? Okay, I know that might sound harsh, but of course I love you and I want you to do well and I want you to have the most amazing business, the way you get paid well for the work that you do. You're in your zone of genius. You don't spend hours and hours in your business. Like, this is what I want for you. And I'm guessing that since you're here, that's what you want for you too. Right? But if your messaging isn't making you money, then it is not doing its job. Imagine it's like a staff member and you're like, yeah, you're kind of not delivering on the deliverables, right? So this is what we need to get really clear on. It's not doing its job, right? And this is sometimes it can be because we're trying to make the messaging cutesy, clever, a bit complicated. Like for me, I'm a big fan of plain speaking, right? I want people to talk and explain things really clearly so that it's easy for us to understand it, right? Yes, we're all intelligent, highly educated people, right? But also the way that our brain works is that we want to get that information in quickly, right? Can you remember the pandemic when they kept using like 3 words? And you'll find that in a lot of political slogans, there will be 3 words, right? There's a reason for that. There is a psychological reason for that. And so when we look at how our brains work, how we take in information. We want to make sure that our messaging is also like using those principles. It's so funny. I was sitting yesterday, I was just working at my desk and I was looking back at literally all the things that I've created over the years. And I was like, oh my God, there is a lot of stuff there. And I was looking at it all and I went, wow, I've been saying the same thing over and over again for the last 13, well, probably maybe 11 years, because Tiny Time Big Results was born 11 years ago. And I thought, well, that's good. That's a good sign, because that means that what I'm talking about works and it makes sense. And I was like, okay, so this is what we're really focusing in on, right? Because when you are creating your messaging, right, you want it to be really clear. You want it to be really simple and straightforward, right? And we want a message that moves people to act, right? That's really important. Like if you're constantly creating a lot of educational content, I see this a lot where people are like, okay, I'll give them 3 tips for, etc. Right? That has its place. I'm not going to say that it's redundant, right? It does have its place. However, that is not the stuff that gets people to actually book that discovery call or buy your thing, whatever it might be, right? It isn't. This is not the content that activates, right? And when you really dial in your messaging in such a way that it really activates them, now they are much more likely to want to book that call with you, to come and work with you, to buy your offers, whatever it might be. Okay. So I really want you to think about this. Stop trying to be clever. Like, don't be like trying to create yourself like a really cool creative title. We don't need any of those things. Speak plainly about what it is that you do. What's the problem you solve? Who do you solve it for? Let's get, right down to the brass tacks here, right? And I want you to think about 3 things. These are another 3 things, but these are just 3 words, right? Resonance, relevance, and revenue. Okay, because that's what we're here for. Messaging is a revenue system, it's not a tagline. So you want to make sure that people feel a resonance to what you are saying. Like that for me is super important, because I want people to feel connected to what I'm creating. I want you to watch this episode, listen to this episode, and kind of really feel that connection. Like you feel like it resonates with you, right? Relevance. Okay, everything that I'm talking about is highly relevant to where you are in your business, because if you want more clients, more cash, more revenue, more income, more impact, then this is highly relevant, right? And then revenue, because you're a business owner, and let's not shy away from the fact that you want to make money. We all want to make money, because that is what helps us, that grows our businesses, and it also feeds our families and allows us to live in the world that we live in right now. So before I wrap up this episode, I want to share with you a couple of things that you can do now to get you really in that space of thinking about how your messaging can become that revenue system, right? And it's not just a cute little tagline, right? So the first thing, I've got a quiz on my website called yasminborji.com, right? That's my website. The quiz is called the Profitable Solopreneur Scorecard, right? So go to yasminborji.com and you'll see it as soon as you land on the website, that you'll see take the Profitable Solopreneur Scorecard, because we talk a lot about messaging in that. That will give you a really good indicator of where you are right now. Second thing you can do, and I'm going to put all these links below this episode as well. Second thing you can do is you can get my message. Oh my God, I officially cannot speak anymore. The Message Magic Workshop, and that's how I show you how to build a magnetic messaging system in your business that is going to get you the clients and cash. And also, if you're interested in learning about how we can work together, how I can help you to craft that amazing magnetic marketing message that's going to attract those higher paying clients, that helps you to sell daily and really stand out in your field, then I would invite you to book a clarity call with me, and we can talk about what that looks like for you. So they're the 3 things that the actions that you can now take. I want to wrap up this episode, and let's bring it in, right? So what I want you to remember, clarity creates cash, right? Resonance creates revenue. Now you might be thinking, what's the difference, right? Cash, revenue, what's the difference? So I want you just to imagine that your message is like a boutique storefront, like a shop front, right? Clarity is that clear window display. It gets people in. They're like, ooh, what's this? Right? The resonance, it's the feeling that they get when they come inside. And that's what creates the revenue, because those people want to stay. They want to buy more. They want to hang around more, right? So clarity gets the cash in. And like you think about like that from a very short-term perspective, but that resonance creates the revenue. And that's because they love how they feel. If we go back to the example of the Netflix binge consumption, you know, if somebody was like reading my book and listening to my podcast and think about it in your business as well, and they're like, I really like this. That's what's going to make them stay. And that is what's going to help to build your business. Because it's not always about getting new clients, but it's about, you know, thinking about the existing clients and thinking, how can I get them, you know, what can I get them to buy next? You know, what's going to be helpful on their journey next, right? I hope this session has been useful for you, this episode. I hope it's really kind of given you some insights, and it's really kind of lit a fire for you to help you get your messaging to become that revenue system and not a tagline. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share it. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, then subscribe to my channel. And I cannot wait to connect with you the next time. All right, take care.